So welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success story series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders, their backgrounds, their successes and challenges, and what drives them forward. And today we have with us Susan Johnson of the Bella di Notte group based in Malton. So welcome, Susan. Thank you so much for joining us. If you'd like to introduce yourself and your business, it'd be great to know a little bit about how you help your clients.
Yeah, well, thanks for inviting me, Chris. So we are based in Malton. We have a mail order business and we sell a lot online as well. And we're targeting ladies that are 50 plus and they're looking for better quality clothing, flattering fits, and good old fashioned quality really, and good old fashioned service. So we're very much into giving customers extra special service to helping them find the clothing choices they want.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm sure that's a booming market. So could you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into business and why this business particularly?
Yeah. So we've been going 23 years and we have about 45,000 customers. And I got started really in my teens. I was working for a clothing designer, and with my mum, we used to make a lot of clothing. And then really, it's a bit of a love story for me. I went to Italy looking for a husband, and I failed actually miserably trying to find a husband in Italy. I thought they'd be a lot more romantic in Italy than they are in the UK, and especially in Yorkshire. They're not so romantic in Yorkshire. So I thought, I'll go to a more romantic country and I'm bound to find a husband. So I went off to Italy and couldn't find a boyfriend and had a very cold winter. So I thought, I'll go and find myself a vest, just like I used to wear back home. And I went to the local market and found these beautiful merino wool and silk vests with beautiful lace necklines. And I thought, wow, this is really something else. Bought it, but the wearer experience for me was exceptional. I put on this merino vest and I thought, gosh, it's so pleasant to wear and so cozy, not like the sort of nylon-y type thermal vest you had when we were kids.
Yep.
And I fell in love. So I came home, and when I got home, my dad said to me, where's my Italian son-in-law? I said, Dad, I didn't fall in love with a man. I fell in love with a vest. And then he helped me start my business, and I started selling vests. And it just snowballed from there, really. And now we sell over 140,000 garments a year, from bras right through to specialist fit trousers, because I just end up getting to very specialist products, you see.
Wonderful. And how did you decide to go into this particular niche? I mean, obviously, I get the link with Italy, but I
always wanted to run my own business right from I knew as a little girl. It was always in my sort of life path and goals. But I didn't want to do it in something that meant nothing to me. So I didn't sort of want to just compete doing a cheaper type of electricity supply or something like that. So it wanted to be something that I really believed in and was motivated by. And I was waiting for my light bulb moment, and it was literally a light bulb moment for me. And I just love working with the products. So I just always loved great quality clothing and great quality products. Yeah. And my father ran his own business, and I was surrounded by people running their business. And I just love being my own boss and making my own decisions, good and bad, you know. And I like living out those decisions, and it's fun.
It's funny. I've always said in my business career, we can never really know whether we're making the right decision or not, the best decision. But for me, we have to make the decision and then make it the best one, if that makes sense.
And I think you make a decision at a moment in time as well. And you have to, even if you look back and you say, oh, hindsight's a great thing, I wish I hadn't done that. I think you mustn't beat yourself up about it, because you look at I made that decision at that point in time for those reasons. And you learn from them and you adapt and develop. And now I'm older, in my 50s, and I've been making business decisions for over 30 years. I find it really interesting, because the one thing I love doing is making decisions. I think I can't be doing with inertia.
No, I totally get that. I completely agree that the biggest challenge I have, I think, is not making decisions and procrastination. Yeah. So making the decision, make it the best one, and crack on and do that. So I mean, like all successful people, I'm sure over the period of time you've had to overcome quite a few challenges. What would be some of the highlights of the challenge world that you've
oh my god, I've got a book full of them. Well, 2008 crash was certainly challenging. So in that one, the exchange rate went up 30% for us. Our inbound costs went up 30% due to the exchange rate I was used to luxuriating in 1.45 euros to the pound, dream world. And we went to almost parity in pound to a euro in 2008. And at that point in time, I started with nothing. I literally started my business on a kitchen table, and I only owned a shortwave radio when I started my business. I didn't even own a TV, and I didn't even own a computer. So I had literally started with absolutely nothing. And I got a Princess Trust loan for £2,500 to start the business. So in 2008, when we hit the crash, I did almost lose the business, and it was hard work earning the money to pay for your house, and I had to remortgage my house again. When it got to 2008, I was in my what was that? That was that's now 13 years ago, isn't it? So I was just turning 40, and I was actually planning to pay off my mortgage completely the following year, and the crash happened. And I just completely remortgaged my house and gave myself a completely full brand new mortgage to pay off at the age of 40. So that was a challenge. And obviously COVID's been very challenging. For us in a positive way, that it's been very good for business, but it's been challenging on personal levels, helping people work through it and work through all the problems, all the suppliers, helping them, keeping their businesses going. We have we've doubled our business during COVID and done tremendously well. And we're sharing that success, by investing in our business, investing locally, investing in the team, investing in suppliers. So they've been challenges, and they've all been good and positive ones. Having 2 children and running a business was challenging. Things happening like, I probably shouldn't talk to a man about this, but breastfeeding my children with a phone cooked on my corner of my ear, dropping the mobile phone on my daughter's head as a baby was not some of my better moments, but all part of the interesting life we weave.
Brilliant. Oh wow. And doubling a business during COVID, that's incredible.
Yes, and I did that we were just at the point in the business where we were due to get on more of a management team, and I had to do that with no management team, and because we were just growing the business to the level where we wanted to have more management structure. We had, I say we had just a few managers in the business, but not a lot that helped me on a full-time basis, because we're a business of 35 women, and I have an active policy of encouraging working mums. So I have a lot of part-time workers, and I'm at that time was one of the few full-timers in the business. So trying to run a business under strict COVID conditions with massive supply issues was very challenging, and I couldn't onboard more management, and I ran out of space. So we built an office as well during COVID. Another how many thousand square feet? It's I should remember this, shouldn't I? The office is I think about 4,000 square feet office.
Wow.
I built.
Wow.
And I built that also during COVID from the mud up. I didn't build it myself. A builder did it, but I worked with the builder, and we built it from nothing. So we did that as well. So it's been great fun.
So I was going to say, you clearly don't let a lot get in your way.
No, plow on. Yeah, definitely. I'm a girl who likes to kick on, and for us, there was an opportunity to grow the business a lot at that point, and so I seized every opportunity I could, because it's rare that you're in a position where the 50% of your competition is closed.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, similarly, I've sort of been through a couple of recessions, similar to you, and one thing I learned from that was that getting through them was often was a victory, often. Yes. Because unfortunately some of our competitors don't make it, and I don't take pleasure from that, but I think we should take credit for being the ones that get through.
Yes, I think we were keen to do something for the sake. In the depths of COVID, it felt like the British economy was under threat. And
yes.
People's livelihoods were under threat as well, in spite of the terrible emotional toll it's taken on some people. Yeah. But I felt the one way to try and keep normality going and was to focus on doing something productive rather than doing something rather than what's the word? Maybe hiding away and fearing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, we both I'm based in York and Leeds, but my organisation is national and global, in fact. But we put a lot of effort into just to help as many businesses as we could. We've got a lot of knowledge and expertise in running and growing businesses and keeping them surviving. And it was only the right thing to do to provide as much help and support as we could to anyone that needed it. And I think it was great to see. I think one of the great things I from the whole COVID experience is so many people choosing to pull together. And in difficult times, it's easy to be scarce and actually try and just make sure I'm all right and not worry about anybody else. But so many people did their best to help lots of other people, and I think that's a credit to us as a nation in many ways.
I think you give people hope and something to work for, and I think it was important to galvanize some positive activity, really, and was very keen to to do something positive, really.
Yeah, brilliant. So obviously talk about challenges. What would you say are some of the main things you've learned in your business career? What are some of the sort of real
yes, there's a long list there, isn't there, really?
There are for me, that's for sure.
The main things I've learned is to be brave, to be courageous, to approach everything with a smile and try and do the best you can for people in general. I think your legacy lives with you a long time, so I think to be honourable and honest in your dealings, and to be open and and be clear about what you want, and I think is to enjoy and have fun. Running your own business can be lonely and tough and hard work. It certainly was 23 years ago. I think now the world is much more sociable. I love all the sociable applications we have on phones. So I'm in sort of friendly WhatsApp group with business friends, and I'm part of the Goldman Sachs alumni, and I set out, once my kids had grown up a bit and I was allowed to get out and about a bit more, I set out to use my business also vehicle to make friends and to join with like-minded people. I've linked up with a lot of other entrepreneurs, and we enjoy each other's company a lot because we're very similar sort of people. And I found that really rewarding and a very enjoyable part of my life. Yep. And so I think it shouldn't all be, you can have fun while you're working. And it's my very best hobby, my very favourite hobby.
Yes.
On my business, yeah. It's my livelihood, and it's a very serious business. A lot of women get taken as a bit of a hobby businesses. We get taken as if it's just something we do as a bit of a hobby. But my business is extremely serious. But it's also good fun, and I like it. I like to enjoy it as well.
Great. And that comes across very strongly. So I think that's great. And how about influences? What have been big influences in your business career?
Over the times, I've had, so my very first boss, when I got a job at Black & Decker, she was a woman, and it was a very male-dominated environment. And when we got interviewed all those years ago, we used to get questions asked such as, oh, when do you think you'll be having a family? And we weren't marked for promotion so much because it was right, it was really just the boys that got the promotions. But she gave me my first big break, a lady called Jenny Turner, and she was really fantastic. My first part-time job working for a clothing designer, Joan Haxton, she was another lady who fought many adversities in her life, having found herself as a single mum and lost one of her children to leukemia. She picked herself up and ran her own business and ended up making clothes for Princess Anne. And I used to work with her, and she wouldn't let anything beat her. And she was a great inspiration. And my mother was the same. My mother had a really tough life, and she always met it with happiness and humour. And she's very, very hardworking woman and put a lot into life. And those are the women that inspired me a great deal. And love her or hate her, Maggie Thatcher had hard-working ethic, and she showed women that they could achieve. And so I think took a lot of inspiration from them.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And have you picked any favourite sayings or quotes along the way? I pick up quite a few as I go, and I'm always keen to find if anyone's got any particular sayings from anybody that they
yes, that's always a good one, isn't it? There's well, I like some of the ones like the Richard Branson ones. This is things like screw it, let's do it, and that's a good one. And regret what you have done, not regret what you've done, not what you haven't done. Those are some of my favourite ones. And we have some in the business. The best cars are the cars that sell. So we don't sit there we sit there and decide if it's a great selling product, even if we don't personally like it, but the customers like it, we should do it. You know, we should do it for the customer's sake. And yeah, so those are some of our often used ones.
That's really said. The last one, very much so from my perspective, is I find too many people, you know, including I've been guilty of myself, think I'm the target market. Therefore, if I like it, everyone should like it or not. And you know, the only market guru we need is the market itself. The numbers should tell us. You know, as you said, if it's selling, it's great. It doesn't matter whether we like it or not. It's whether our target market likes it. And it's a simple, you know, element of just try stuff and see. And as long as we measure our marketing, you know, measure the results of the marketing, we'll find out what works best and what doesn't. So that's great. So what fascinating, obviously a fascinating background you've had today. What have you learned about yourself during this whole business journey that you've had?
I've a lot actually, and I'm a very different person to what I was in the beginning. And when I first started my business, I was just talking to the girls about it last night, because we have a 6-monthly strategy presentation to our team here, and we had it last night. And I said to the girls, you know, when on my first day that I took my vests out to sell, I sold 3, and I was absolutely over the moon. I said I was inconsolably happy.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And then I thought I would never. When I started my business, some people are really super ambitious, and you know they want all the money and the yacht, and I'm not interested in any of that really. I'm interested in doing a really good job for people, and that's what brings me pleasure. And when I started the business, I didn't conceive it ever to be this big. And even when I get to a certain point in time, I think, oh, you know, we turned over a couple of million. That feels good. I think I can do another million. And you just keep building the business. And at some point, just to get to 1 million sounded amazing. And then you think, oh, I can do that. I'll do 5 million turnover. And you just keep going. Sometimes you can set out there with a really big plan, and you want to have a £150 million business, £200 million business. I don't want to run a business that big. I don't want to run a business where I walk in the door and I say, who's that person down in the warehouse?
Yes.
And I don't know their name. I know the names of all the people here, and you know, I know their families and the kids, and I don't mind the business doubling it in size again, but I don't want it to be you know, a big cumbersome corporate feeling business. I want it to be personal on every level, with people that work here and the customers, and want to feel all part of a family really. So you know, that's been an interesting part of what I've learned on the journey, but I was surprised that I ever could get this big. I certainly never dreamt it at the beginning. So I think it's quite nice to learn on the way and keep growing with yourself and keep moving your goalposts. You get to a certain point and think, I'll just push the goalposts out a bit more, go a bit further, rather than sitting there with like a corporate. You could end up going, some people do it, they get all the finances in and they just pound themselves to death to get to a target. I've weaved my way to the end result over 23 years, taking me a bit longer to get there than it should have done. But I'm finally got to a place where I'm really pleased with what I've done. I'm really proud of the business, and there's loads more potential yet. But yeah, got to a good place.
That's wonderful. I do know. I mean, my first business, we got to over 100 people, and unfortunately, there was that point in time when you start to realise you don't know everybody, and you don't know their families, and you don't know their background, and it's sad. But one thing I would suggest is that
it's making you happy, I suppose. You don't
I mean, we were still keen on, you know, everybody joining stuff, and I knew everybody by faces. It wasn't like I didn't know anybody, but I didn't know the detail, you know, their kids' names, the families. But one thing that I do believe to be very strong and shouldn't limit growth is that as leaders, if we maintain the vision and the values of an organisation and the culture, the size doesn't need to affect that. I think the key thing is, as leaders, that's our focus. It's the long-term vision, communicating the values and enforcing the values across the industry, across the business. And if we do that, growth doesn't have to affect it. It can do, and unfortunately, we see so many businesses where they've just lost the plot as they've grown, and that's the sort of fear we can have that we would turn into them. But I've worked with strong leaders such as yourself, and if you keep really clear on what's important to you and therefore the business, then that doesn't need to happen.
And I think it's that's, you've always got to you can get very wrapped up in the day-to-day, and I think it's very important to spend the time looking, where you're going, and constantly checking back in and reevaluating where that position is, and I think it's important to always keep reassessing your position.
Without doubt, and because things do change, and things change every time, and so if we, it's very easy to become too busy to look and get that high level view and take a step back, but it's
or set a path and think and feel you can't deviate. Where it's sometimes a little bit of a meander because everything goes straight forward. We shouldn't beat ourselves up with, actually we did a few little U-turns to get to where we need to get to. Life isn't plain sailing.
If it was, everyone would do it. So it's that fact. I was told a long time ago actually that one of the jobs of being a business owner is to solve problems. So if you don't like problems, get out of business. And
it's so true.
Always stuck with me because it's true. And what I've learned from that personally is that actually problems are caused often by growth. So if I've got problems, it's probably because I'm being more successful. So it's okay.
Growing pains are growing your business a lot tougher than I imagined.
I find, I work with lots of high growth businesses, and there are as many problems in growth as there is in a lack of growth. They're different, obviously, but it's
a happy problem.
It's a happy problem, is it? At least, the financial problem isn't there, but obviously there's other problems about, as you said, recruiting the right people, maintaining culture, retaining great people, which is, a challenge nowadays as well.
Definitely.
So, I mean, looking forwards, and I'm feeling that there's a bright vision for the business moving forward. But what does the future look like, and what challenges might you face as we go into the next couple of years?
So, I think the challenge is a changing marketplace.
Yes.
We work in retail, so the retail landscape was already shifting into the direction it's been shifting into, more online than offline.
Yes.
COVID kind of just accelerated that.
Yep.
But, when you were in bricks and mortar, it was quite a simple formula. Now the formula is very complex, and it's happening across, and it's very, very diluted and spread. So it's the retail market is opening up all over the place. You can shop on so many channels now. It's a bit like, you can only sort of compare it a bit like the TV. When we were kids, there was 3 channels, then we progressed to 4, and then all of a sudden, we got Netflix and internet and satellite, and the TV market just exploded. And when we used to go to school on a morning, people would say, did you see Blackadder last night? And we all talked about it, recited all the lines. When now you talk to people and say, did you see that program last night, Strange Things? Like, what's that program? Oh, it's on Netflix. What's Netflix? And there's so many places. Oh, I was watching this on YouTube. Like, you can, everyone's now an expert on every subject, and you can get to those people. When we were just talking about today, when you were a kid and you want to learn how to change a tire on your bike, you'd have to ask your dad, and if your dad didn't know, then you have to get a book or go and find a neighbor that knew. Whereas nowadays, I just flick on my phone, and in 5 minutes, YouTube's told me how to do it.
Definitely.
So it's a very, very different world, and a very crowded world for, getting across any sort of messages. Very, very crowded. So that presents lots of new challenges. And in the old days, if you wanted to get known, you just go on primetime TV at whatever, 8 o'clock on BBC, on ITV, and everyone saw you. Whereas now nobody's watching that anymore. They're all watching playback. So you can't be heard anymore.
Yes. yes, I mean, just make absolute sense. I've not thought of it in that way before, but yeah, it's that dilution, isn't it? As you say, there isn't a one single place. There's just so many different places we can get this information from. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it, to find, and therefore find the right channel or channels that are going to fit our target market.
So I'm upping my headcount constantly in marketing, because we have to have so many people looking after so many areas of marketing now to get ourselves heard. So that's going to be an interesting thing over the next couple of years. We're in the right target market with the right product, so that'll be fine. There's going to be a lot more turmoil in the supply chains, because COVID has made people look at their lives again, and look at the way look at the environment harder, and look at the way we're doing business. So I think it's going to be a lot of change in our supply markets. We've obviously had Brexit. We're a year on from Brexit, and that was a big challenge to get that double whammy during COVID, but we coped with it very well. However, it doesn't make doing business so easy. And certainly from a sales point of view, we set out a plan to double our sales over the next 5 years. I just want to get to 20 million.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, I've no doubt that you will.
Yeah.
Absolutely no doubt. I think that will be very straightforward.
To use my business now to let women know about buying better fitting bras and better fitting trousers. So I want to get my next big challenge, and because I like to challenge myself, push myself out of my comfort zone. The next one is to start presenting on YouTube.
Great.
So yeah.
Great. Well, it's just a question of getting going, I guess. It's I think it's one of these challenges that we just have to overcome, because video and video presentations are what everyone expects now, and it's if we're not on video, then we're probably not as relevant as we would be if we were. So no. Oh well, good. Well, if anything I do to help, if you do this today, that's wonderful. And as an aside, and both online, but also hopefully as we get back to physical events, we love to have successful local business people come and talk a little bit about what they do. So if you'd like to do that at some point, that would be
welcome.
That would be wonderful, because it's it's inspiring. I mean, in fact, the last couple of questions are about giving advice. Obviously, you've talked about the advice you've received and the learnings you've got. And one of the last questions would be, what would you say to anyone that was thinking of going into business now? What will be advice to them?
Definitely give it a go, because again, regret what you've done and what you haven't done. And the one biggest piece of advice is, obviously have a passion and a reason for doing it.
Yes.
A monetary reason won't bring you pleasure. It has to be a reason from the heart, and do something that you really love. But financially and carefully plan how you're going to do it. So even though sometimes we didn't have the best marketing plan in the world, or the best written procedures or policies in the world, I always had my numbers done. And even if sometimes, it was just roughed out, every year I did the numbers, even when I was a little business. And so I knew what was coming to hit me. And I keep tight in touch with the numbers. And enjoy running a business. Otherwise it will become a millstone of torture, because it's a massive commitment, and it will overtake your life. But enjoy that and go with it, rather than making yourself miserable with it.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. But my first business, we grew very successfully. We were sort of the business itself grew at 30 to 40% every year. That my own division was growing at 400% a year for 2 or 3 years, but it pretty much broke me. And the reason I do what I do now is I'm used to growth, and I love working with high growth businesses. But my passion is to help people enjoy the process, not just the outcome.
Yes.
Because too many times, I think it's a great quote from Stephen Covey when he says, there's no point climbing the ladder of success to find you put it up against the wrong wall.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So if you're not enjoying it now, then it's probably we're not in the right place. So I completely agree. And there's so many case studies of people that have just turned their passion into something of a successful business. It started as something very small, but they were so passionate about it, it became something very large, and it's the passion that drove that, not necessarily anything else. And so that's great advice. And finally, then, on advice lines, what advice would you give to an 18-year-old you if you could go back in time?
Oh yes, definitely. Well, I would say be a bit braver, and in the moments when you felt you should go a little bit slower because you were overly cautious, just be a little bit braver. So
Wow.
I've been braver and talked to more people in the early days and learned more from other people and got more guidance.
Great. Very, very sound advice. I think I was talking to somebody earlier that talked about, absolutely make your own decisions, but take as much advice as you can in making them. And yes. I think that's so valuable, because so many people can identify or help to identify some of those obstacles. I think they say, was it good? Get it right. Good choices come from experience, which come from making bad choices. So
yes,
if we can learn from other people,
doing all the wrong things gets you to the right thing. And the best things I've learned, and the best things I've often done, has been because I've listened to other people. And you can make the mistake in business of spending too much time, on all the day-to-day, stuff. But get out, have dinner with other people, join other business groups, and talk a lot about what you do and learn from other people. Definitely don't repeat the same mistakes. I had a guy that I knew in business that ran a similar business to me. Sadly, the business folded, and nobody phoned him afterwards because he was a failure in people's eyes. I was one of the first people to phone him and say, "How's it going? I hope you're all right. Let's have lunch." And we still talk now. And he's sort of retired now. It did him in, but it's why let that mistake be made twice?
Absolutely.
I talked to him and I learned a lot from him, and he's a really nice guy. And in a way, you should never view it as a failure. It was a complete success for many years, and he did something that most people have never dared do. So the guy was a success in his own right. Yeah.
Brilliant. And so valuable. Learning from other people's, we learn more from our mistakes than we do from our successes ultimately. Therefore, let's learn from other people's challenges, so hopefully we don't make them, and that makes perfect sense. Wonderful. Well, look, that's definitely sound advice for not just an 18-year-old you, but an 18-year-old anybody. Susan, it's been an absolute delight, and thank you so much. You've been fascinating talking to you, and again, it's just great to see so many successful businesses in our local area and it's great. It's great to know things are going on so successfully for you, and it'd be great to come back in maybe a couple of years and just see, have we got to that 20 million yet? I'm sure it won't be long. So thank you so much. And is there any last words that you've got, and any other thoughts that you have before we close?
I would just say, even when the going gets really tough and you feel like throwing in the towel, stand back and look for a new route forward, and you'll find it. And if your heart's in it, you'll get there.
Brilliant. Very, very sound advice. On that note, thank you so much for your time. And
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.